Hello, this is Cara from Cara Tarot. I'm doing a VR to Chanel Days, her lovely end of year tag. And she does mid-year and end of year. And while the Virgo in me says it's not the end of the year yet, Bugs Bunny in me says, shut up. So I think I'm ready to do this. And the first question is the deck that you loved using most this year. Now, I'll warn you, I have 2 decks for almost every prompt. So I'll try to keep it fairly fast. So the 2 decks that I loved using the most this year are the Dali Tarot and Scarab and Dahlia. I've talked about the reasons why before, but I'll make it kind of brief. The Dali Tarot, partially because I just really adore the book by Johannes Fiebig. He has practical advice for each card, and sometimes it's almost like a proverb, and other times it's just kind of common sense practical advice. And I really liked that, and that along with Influence of the Angels having the angelic message, these 2 decks really spearheaded my beginning to do an affirmation of the day this year. So that was a big change in my practice this year, or a big commitment, and it's gone, for the most part, very smoothly. But I also realized, and despite the fact that when I did the VR about only 1 deck, if you could only grab 1 deck on the way out, which would it be? Despite the fact that this was not my answer, this is my answer, and I knew that before I did that VR. I have frequently said if I had to run out the door and could only grab 1 deck, this would be the deck I would grab. Unfortunately, it means I probably wouldn't be grabbing the book, because this has that big Hawken box and a very large book, and I love the book. But that's just, it is the artwork that draws me to it and keeps me. I have edged this. I don't edge many of my decks, so that tells you something about it. And that is one of my 2. The other, the Scarab and Dahlia, is because this deck was really a revelation for me in terms of how I could feel about a deck. I have spoken to Johanna Waldo about it directly. This was the first time I experienced a deck that I really felt was me. The Distant Past Tarot is another close one. That feels like a deck that I would design myself, but this deck just feels like it encapsulates me in ways that I can enumerate and in ways that I cannot enumerate. It's the combination of artwork and past and present time periods, juxtaposition of interests that show up in here, as well as having multiple cards for different ones of the majors. It's I will stop there because I love this medieval tapestry. It is a wish card, the 9 of Cups, the wish card. It is a wish card deck for me. It represents me in ways that I didn't realize that I could feel that way about a deck before. The second question is a recent acquisition, a recent addition to your library or collection. I will preface this by saying that after spending a lifetime with the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith and many, many years with only the giant Rider-Waite-Smith, this year I got the borderless Rider-Waite-Smith, and it has risen so wonderfully in the ranks for me. I actually like borders in general, but this was just a borderless deck that spoke to me. But the new acquisition that I'm here to talk about is the Canula Oracle, which was designed to echo and pay tribute to Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork. So this pairing has just been wonderful. And this is a Make Plain Cards deck. I have not done a walkthrough of it yet. This is the first time I've shown this on my channel, the first time I've really opened it up. Simon at the Hermit's Cave has done a full walkthrough of it, and he and I are really RWS people, so it makes sense that this is just really, it speaks to us deeply, the way in which the artwork blends so beautifully with the traditional artwork. And that is the Canula Oracle, and it has, is that L is 50? 50 cards, a few more than 50 cards, 53. And the borderless Rider-Waite-Smith. Number 3, a deck that isn't your usual style, but you are vibing with it. I'll go one farther. I'll go to a deck that I actively disliked and thought I would never get, the Goddess of Love Tarot. It's just the whole erotic, divine, feminine. It just, I know a lot of people love this deck, but for me, it just felt like it was PR from 10 years ago, the erotic, divine, feminine. It just, it felt like that this was so old news. In terms of kind of the imprimatur of the deck, and but I really like the red borders, and oh, but I'm gonna have to be careful about nudity as I show this one. And it's kind of tothy and a pippy, and I didn't think I'd ever have anything tothy. And so all of that changed. Gradually, I have a couple Toth decks now. I realized I don't feel that it is so far afield as I thought it was. Pips are no issue for me now. And I decided I really do like, I like collage artwork. So I really do like this artwork. And the range of images. And the red borders. I like the pink and red together. So those are elements that spoke to me more. The roses, the rose component, images like that. I'm not into the goddess thing, and one of the courts is named a witch, and I'm not into that. And so anybody who's watched my channel will know why this wasn't it. Why this would be something that I wouldn't necessarily think that I would get. But as the thing says, I'm vibing with it. So, but I went from serious antipathy to vibing with it. So that's an even bigger shift for me. And Haven't done a lot of work with it. I think I really got it thinking I would use it around Valentine's Day for a variety of reasons. I don't know that it will ever be a heavily used deck. I think you all know from my classical nudity, I really don't mind nudity, but I'm not really into a deck that has like 50% nude women in it. I mean, that's not where I am. So all of those reasons, I wasn't vibing with it, but so it's not my style, but I am vibing with it. I mean, shift that. But the real lesson for me was the Wandering Star this year. It is not my art style, flat out. Not an art style that I would normally gravitate towards at all. As I have said, this is a deck that it's always my first pick if I'm going out of the house to read at a fair or a store or anywhere. This deck is so accessible, it's diverse, so it makes everyone comfortable. It's not a threatening deck in the way that it appears. It has, it has the keywords, but that's not enough to take somebody out of listening to me when I'm giving a reading. You know, some cards have a whole lot written and you can just see the person has stopped listening and they're reading the thing at the bottom. And so this is just enough that a lot of times they don't even notice those words. I have actually read for people with this deck who are diverse in different ways, and it has easily connected with them, and then it's really strong in its presentation of the Rider-Waite symbols, and yet with this completely different unified art style. It has incredible quotes. Many of you will know I use this as one of my daily affirmation quote cards, and the quotes are magnificent and so well selected for each card. I think it must be pretty inexpensive, because I think I wouldn't have gotten it if it hadn't been inexpensive. And wow, talk about a deck that you think maybe I should just go ahead and get a second deck now. Really wonderful deck. It's always on my underrated decks list because it's just so incredibly useful. The Wandering Star Tarot. And strong readings too. The next question is about a strong deck pairing that you liked best this year. Again, I have two pairs. I have Boadicea's Tarot of Earthly Delights, which was another deck that I really connected with so strongly. I felt it was a me deck. And not only that, but some of my friends recognized it as such and said, I think you want to really look at that deck. And pairing it with Unlocking the Secret Garden Oracle. So I'm just going to lay some out. And even though they're both collage, but they're stylistically different, and yet I think they just pair incredibly well together and look so gorgeous together. I mean, this just creates a beautiful spread on the table. So that just gives you an idea of that pairing. And the other pairing that just took me by storm, even more so, was Les Metamorphoses du Jour, based on the artwork, the political satire artwork of J.J. Granville, and the Parisian Sibyl, with the artwork of J.J. Granville, but much more his kind of fashion plate illustration drawings. So no surprise that they blend well together, but my goodness, I had just an incredible time working with these together. This has, every time I talk about Deck of the Year now, this pairing always comes up very closely to the top in my mind. This is a time period of artwork that I particularly like, and these animals as people, often I will think it's too cutesy, but because it's political satire, there's a whole nother level to it. And the readings that I got with this were so layered and strong. And of course, because this is a Sibyl, it also has the card layers that you can add in there too. So just making it even stronger. I so enjoyed the depth of these readings. And then one of the things I did this year was a Sibyl challenge. So I learned a lot more about reading Sibyls on their own than I had known just from doing that. It was a wonderful challenge that wasn't too long. So it just gave me some pointers, and the Parisian Sibyl has marvelous spreads in it, and a whole lot of them. And so actually I've incorporated a lot of traditional Sibyl spreads and ways of reading Sibyl cards with my tarot cards, because tarot cards are prime for me. So the Parisian Sibyl and Les Metamorphoses du Jour. Now, as some of you know and will have mentioned it, Baba Studios also had a deck with the artwork of J.J. Granville. I think the biggest difference is that though that deck had brighter colors in the background, so they had changed the coloration. I kind of like this. I go for color, so if that had been available, I might have gotten that. But I kind of like the fact, because these would probably have been in magazines at the time, so a lot of them were probably black and white. So I like that historical aspect of it too. So my favorite pairing of the year is this. Number 5 is accessories, crystals, charms, journals. For those of you who've been following my Drop 'em 78, I got 2 of these journals right at the end of last year, I think, and I've been using these. I say I'm a writer that hates journaling. Journaling isn't the way that I work when I'm writing. I tend to do like 3 years of reading, and Mozart used to say that he used to shit it out all at once. I might say, I regurgitate it all at once. In my writing, I tend to just write it all, and then I go back and I edit and I refine. And for my performance programs, and a lot of times my editing has to do with timing it around the music that's going to be involved. But anyway, I just loved these kind of Persian-looking motif on this, and I think I will get more of these. I'm liking these, and I do like having the ribbon to help me keep my place in the journal. The other thing that some of you will know about that I started using this year was just kind of a mini brainstorm, a domino set that had belonged to my father. His family are domino players, and I actually found out through picking these up to do readings with them that my father was an incredibly good domino player, which makes sense because he was an engineer. He had a great memory for numbers. So he was like the domino shark. And I did a couple videos on how I read dominoes. I've watched other people's videos. It seems that a lot of people kind of had their own style with it. So I kind of looked at the different styles, and some of it depends on the size of the domino deck. And one of the things that at least one of the people said was, however you read them, kind of make your decision of how you're going to read with them and stick with it. And that's what I've done. And even though my system has a couple vagaries in it, it's been an interesting addition. Of course, because there are no suits, I don't like it as much as tarot because I feel that it's kind of missing a layer by not having suits. Tarot really fires on all cylinders for me because of the depth of the ability to read with tarot. The other thing I got this year, but I'm not showing right now, is I got 2 mats from Mystic Midnight, which I really think are lovely. If you followed me, you know I tend to use fabric. And here, like, this is a sweater that I knitted that it just never quite worked as something to wear, but I loved the pattern. And I've been now rocking it as my table mat for quite a while. I like the fact that it's a solid color, but it has a textural interest, so it doesn't compete with the cards too much. Solid colors, I think, do work really well for showing off cards. But I have 2 mats now, and I look forward to, they are kind of my Christmas present to myself, so you'll probably see them towards the beginning of the year. And that is my accessories. The next question, I think it's number 6, is the deck with a beautiful back. This is a deck I have not used yet, and I just can't wait. I was very, very recently influenced by Peekaboo, the Pussycat Tarot. And there's several things this deck has going for it that I just really love. One is the way the cats are depicted. They look like cats, like, you know, legitimate, realistic drawings of cats acting like real cats. You know, they're not wearing clothes. They're not, you know, they're not engaged in human activities. These are cats being cats in a cat world. And I really like that aspect of this deck. And then I really, I didn't realize that the back are the, yeah, see, these are the majors that we just went through. I do like, and the black borders and black background. I like the style of it, this strong graphic style. But the real selling point for me on first glance was the cats. Now, in the video where she showed this, she had another deck before it, which I thought was really interesting. I couldn't quite make it out. And I didn't realize it's this deck. It's the back of this deck. These marvelous backs, which form puzzles. And so I'm just look forward to seeing how this works and how that might, like after doing a reading with the front of the deck, to turn it over and see what fits together. A friend of mine on Instagram, Silky, has a Lenormand deck that is, I think it's hexagonal, and it fits together like puzzles. So where it fits together, you get a match. And I love the fact that this is also sort of a puzzle game. And see, you could have not necessarily a color match, but it could match. I look forward to working with that. I don't want to get it out of order right now, but wow, that just, and I thought it was two different decks. And I thought, well, this one's really interesting. And then I realized, oh, it's on the back of the deck that I really love. So absolutely influenced. And I have to say, it then makes us ask, why aren't more deck creators doing something with the back that can add a whole nother level to the divination? So if you're creating decks, it's something to think about. Number 7, a deck with a theme that you like. And this was a Kickstarter deck that I got, the Renowned Artist Tarot. And shortly after I got that, I realized that this art oracle from the Museum of Modern Art, 50-card art oracle, exists. And this is a 2017 deck, actually, but I really hadn't seen much of it. And these two together are just so excellent. I think these just work together or individually. These decks are so marvelous. These have quotes by each artist. The Renowned Artist Tarot has a short biography of each artist and then why they were chosen for this particular card. I think you can see the art style works so well together. She has more of these still. You can follow her on Instagram. You can look up Renowned Artist Tarot, plural artists, Renowned Artist Tarot. Samantha Perez is the creator and the artist, and these have just been wonderful, and it's a theme that I'm going to have to cut that out. It's a theme that, of course, you know me, I would be very interested in. We were raised with fine arts. I had painting lessons as a child. I did professional fashion illustration while I was still in high school. So this is just, you know, love the arts, support the artists, learn about artists. This is an incredible, both of these are incredible learning decks. The next is the most beautiful deck. Now, I have so many decks that I think are so beautiful that I start laughing at myself when I edit my videos. The number of decks that I have said, this is my most beautiful deck, it's not even embarrassing because it's just so funny. But I've chosen the Marea Tarot by Masha Kulanovic. A Toth-based deck. And I just think it is incredible art. I've said before, I was really, for many years, really turned off by the Lady Frida's artwork for the original Toth. One, I realized that it seemed to be influenced by the same kind of vision that the film Metropolis was influenced by, and that art movement of the Weimar Republic. Um, I saw those similarities, and now I do think I want to get that deck. However, this deck is not just beautiful artwork. It's a linen finish. It's a beautiful weight. It's a lovely size, beautifully produced. This was an Etsy deck, independent deck. I just think it is incredibly beautiful. And it's on that border also with some of my other decks that are more abstract and just require you to swim into them, to see them fully. So for this VR, my pick is, for the most beautiful deck, is the Marea Tarot. Number 9 is the deck that you wish existed, or a unicorn deck that you want. One of the things that's top of my list right now is I would love to be able to get the Kickstarter version of the Forager's Daughter Tarot. I think any of you who've watched my videos know how much I love the deck, and I love the intrinsic poetry of reading with it. The Kickstarter version had borders that were different colors for each suit, which is something I particularly like, and that doesn't exist in the other versions, the Afterlight versions. So that would be my deck that I would like to have. The deck that I wish existed, I already have. I had, for a long time, thought I wished there were a Winnie the Pooh deck, and then very shortly after I voiced that, I came across the Wisdom of Pooh deck, and it ticks every box that I could have wished for, except not having a quote from the stories on the cards. But I mean, you know, that's a quibble that has to do with the difference between fantasy and reality. I'm incredibly happy with it, and it is one of the decks that I'm using for the Drop 'em 78 that I am continuing through the end of this year. The other one that was my deck that I really thought I had to have was the Majestic Earth. But then I came across the Sublime Thresholds Tarot, which is currently out of print, but I must have gotten like the last one before it went out of print, or next to last. I don't even know if I have a card number. I don't think I have a number card. She has now not only has a Kickstarter for the second edition, but I believe as of today it is fully funded, or very close. So I don't have to feel bad about showing this to you and waxing poetic about it. And now that I have this deck, I do not feel that I need the Majestic Earth. For me, it fits right into that same place. The fact that it is literally a Thresholds deck was part of that whole thing for me. I also am putting with it the Carte Divinatoire d'Agarel. These are not new. This is an older deck. Yeah, I can't even remember. I don't remember what year that is, but I know it's not new. And I feel that these work well together. This is more landscape, and this is more, a little more peoply, but this has quite a bit of moody landscapes. They're both quite moody. And so this deck, the Sublime Threshold, just completely scratched that itch for me. I think even now, if one came along, it would have to be a very good price. If the Majestic Earth came along, it would have to be at a good price, or I just would feel like, well, I have this now, I don't need that. And it's a very nice feeling to have. Because even though my collection is not, certainly nowhere near as large as some people's, I'm kind of at the border, I've mentioned this before, I'm kind of at the place where I feel that I have more decks than I ever wanted. And I do have decks that I want to move on. That's one of my projects for next year, is really moving those on and then figuring out if there are others that need to go. So I just happen to feel that these work together very well, and hopefully you see that. The next question is, which card sums up this year? Well, some of you may recall I used this deck, the Queen Alice by Dame Darcy, to do my mid-year wrap-up and pick 2 cards for the rest of the year. And I knew exactly what it was about, and I knew it was probably accurate. I got the 8 and 9 of Swords, as I recall. And I knew exactly what it was about. It says about my life as a caregiver, and it's accurate. I knew then it would be accurate. I knew what it was about. And I'm doing 2 decks for almost everything. I think a lot of you know I do not do predictive readings. And of course, Les Dinosaures de Marseille gave me a predictive reading anyway. It was rather unmistakable. And let me see if I can, still don't know this deck incredibly well. See if I can find the card. The card was the Tower. It gave me the Tower card for this fall, because this has seasons and months. There it is. I got that and the fall card. I have been getting the Tower all year. I'm kind of referring to it as my friend at this point, because again, as a senior caregiver, my mother is 101. I know what it's about, and I live with it every day. I live with the possibility of a drastic change every single day. This prediction was right. My mother has had a significant decline. Just last week, she was accepted into hospice, which is its home hospice. So, this was true. This, as I said, I don't do predictive readings. This deck gave it to me anyway, and I had no reason to doubt that it would be true. I just didn't know which part of the fall it would happen in, and it's been late in the fall, and that this happened, but it's true. So this adorable little Minchiati deck has, even though I've worked with it very little, has earned its place as a strong and tough reader. As adorable and fun as it is, and quirky, and wacky, and random, and historic, and all that good stuff. So those are my cards of the year, the 8 and 9 of Swords and the Tower. Number 11 is my Tarot Practice Reflections. And once I tell you what it is, it will be obvious to you. For these, I'm showing Tarot Volatile and the Oracle deck that as soon as I saw it, I knew it would help open up Tarot Volatile for me. Omens of the East Oracle. There's still many of these left. This, again, is another Etsy deck. I've said before, when I got Tarot Volatile, I really thought it was going to be my soul deck. It isn't. I still really like it. I do like the fact that it has 5 suits. But then I saw this Omens of the East, and it actually has some of the sacred geometry elements that are in Tarot Volatile. There you go. So you can see that it works very, very well together. And classical nudity, classical nudity. So, before I was so rudely interrupted, my practice, big change for me this year is I never was much into oracles, but I do use oracles as a capper on a deck, and I have also come to use oracles as a way of creating my tarot spreads. And suddenly this year I became interested in pairing decks. Nothing new for most of you, but for me this was new. I didn't think that would be something that would interest me before. And when you get a pair that, I mean, look at this, all of these sacred geometry things in these decks. They don't state it anywhere, but I firmly believe that this deck, which is just this year, it's from 2025, I believe this deck was created as an oracle deck that would work with this deck. I think they saw the success of this deck and decided to create an oracle that would work with it. And it does. So that is my big practice change. Even the weight and the feel of the cards is very similar. So they just work beautifully together. I don't know if they will be a dedicated pair. I have used Omens of the East with other decks, but certainly I feel they work beautifully together. And the last prompt is to pick a card for this year. I think you know why I do not want to do that, now that I've talked about what happened at the end of the mid-year tag. I do not want to pick a card for next year, so instead I will show you a deck that I already have plans to work with in the coming year. I plan to start a study in January with Valentina De Luca's Matronoa Tarocchi Italiani. And I am going to be using Lady Lorelei's book, Tarot Life Planner, which I have raved about multiple times. And I have said before, this is a book that you could probably spend a year working through, so we'll see. My Tarot de Marseille is not as strong as it could be because I began with Rider-Waite-Smith. So I'm going to use this deck alongside this version of the Soprofino. This is the version of the Soprofino that appears all through that book. So it's a lovely deck, of course, if you know this deck, the Soprofino. And so these two beautiful and yet different Tarot de Marseille style decks, or Italian pip decks, these are going to be my study probably at least for 6 months. We'll see, and how glorious this is going to be. I've already worked with this deck. It isn't new to me in that respect, although this was new this year. And it created such a wellspring in the community. Now, I have to say, I do realize it depends who your friends are on TarotTube, because I can see that there would be some corners of TarotTube that wouldn't have heard of this and wouldn't like it, or not be that crazy about it. But I have many friends who are part of the historical side of TarotTube, and this really swept that side of TarotTube with enthusiasm and great joy and celebrations, rightfully so. Just a beautiful deck. So this is the deck that I will be working with. I look forward to working with in 2026, as well as many others, of course. And what a lovely place to stop there with Temperance. Can I use this as my card for next year? This is Cara from Cara Tarot. Have a beautiful, peaceful, safe, healthy holiday and a fantastic start of the new year. Thank you again to Chanel Days for creating this end-of-year tarot tag.